Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks, where today we're taking another look at this brand new map that just hit the Beyond All Reason map pool. I like to feature a new map every once in a while for a couple of games here, just until we get a good sense of what exactly we're going to see. And this map, it's kind of got it all. It's got some good backline positions, it's got some good frontline combat sections, it's got some good mid laning as well, a lot of run by paths, a lot of action through and through. So I'm definitely excited to see what our top level heroes today are going to bring to the fight. Spawning in red and representing the red team as a Cortex commander goes by the name of MV Pete. Going to be showing us some of those good old-fashioned Cortex bots. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially considering there's all these juicy trees to eat up to fund that very, well, energy expensive, but just energy dense in general Cortex army. Now, all the way across the map here, representing the blue team as a Cortex commander as well, instead of bots, going to be going into vehicles here, goes by the name of Mellow, 31 true skill. Not actually a silver tail yet. We've just got the gold bars here. So either way, gonna be showing us what they've got here as the blue team leader at the very least here. Now, in the other game that we saw, some interesting things occurred, right? There was a big battle that occurred right across the river right over here. This was kind of the foothold that the red team had well, I think in that match the colors were reversed, but anyway, that was the big foothold that they managed to carve out. The left-hand side managed to carve out into this position, and then they tried to push through into this northern side, and that's a very difficult line to break right there. They tried to push through in the southern side. There's a big T3 gantry over here. I'm curious to see, obviously this map is mirrored too, so I expect to see similar pushes and pulls all over the place here. There was a big stalwart defense on this island as well. Extremely difficult for artillery forces to bombard this position, so I'm curious to see how commanders are going to be able to solve that position. One thing that I wondered about, and that I think we did see a little bit of, was some of those rocket trucks, the ones that fire the high-arcing missile that launches up and then collides down, doing a huge amount of damage to whatever it does collide with. Obviously, those are a precision tool meant to take out specific infrastructure, but on a map like this with so many extremely porcupinable defensive positions, I think it makes a lot of sense to invest in at least a couple of those. Obviously, Cortex Commander is going to have it a lot easier with that as well, having both the Negotiator as well as the Arbiter. I believe it is called the Negotiator, their missile truck for their Cortex vehicle lab, as well as the Arbiter, which is a rocket T2 bot. We've got a nice big patrol cone set up here. We've got just tons and tons of forces, making sure that I suppose the river border is secured. Tick's not going to be able to run through this water, I do believe, but rovers and rascals should have no trouble traversing it. They're semi-amphibious, I feel like I should call them. There we go. Rolling their way across the water and into the enemy lines they will go. At the very least, peeking at the blue team here and discovering we've at the very least got a couple of units here that are patrolling back and forth, just making sure that no run-bys occur. We do have a scout already headed across right here, a rascal sent out by Mellow. Lovely stuff. We need to confirm where the enemies are spawning, because obviously seeing Hans Joachim, MVP'd, as well as a air player over here, Chronic Killa, going to be the air player here for the red team, definitely should indicate that we need to put a lot of pressure up on this northern side, or at the very least we need to defend it thoroughly. Now I think the blue team is up to the challenge. We've got Bartizan, the green commander here, as well as our blue team leader, both going to be stepping forward right here. And one thing that I hadn't thought about is that it is going to be 3 land players going up against 2 land players and an air player. Now we're noting here this is an Armada air player, so we're not going to see any of those shurikens. We're not going to see any of those whirlwinds. We could go for some bombers, but those T1 Armada bombers, I mean, yeah, they really leave a lot to be desired as opposed, pardon me, to the whirlwind bombers. They drop 1 extra bomb, and so you get a little more surface area out of them. But for taking down key infrastructure like metal extractors, wind turbines, solar panels, that sort of thing, that concentrated firepower from the Cortex T1 bomber is just tough to beat. Grunt's moving forward here. Getting a little bit bold. Not the end of the world, though. Certainly going to be quite capable. Yeah, a little bit of a battle going on down here as well. The yellow commander clashing with the green. The red reinforcements coming to try and help this, though, but the commander is on top of it. Yeah, moving forward to make sure that this stays completely well guarded right here. And eventually it does look like this will be well deflected by the green commander. We have a little bit of a run by just south of that position. A couple of pawns moving their way across the map here, trying to find an opening. I wonder if there's a way for me to smooth that. If anybody knows of a way to smooth the zooming action. I've been thinking about bar spectator controls recently a lot and been wondering about if there's any ways to optimize it. So if there's a way to smooth it. I've looked a couple of times, but maybe I haven't quite found it. Anyway, side tangents aside, tons of damage right here, my goodness. Yeah, Bartizan expanding really quickly, but at the cost of having a slightly lesser army. What that means, of course, is that he's exposed to run by, so it's a killer move right here by the red and yellow commander, both sending their troops forward, shutting down a whole bunch of metal extractors on the front line right here for the blue team. Gonna be forcing the green commander to move backwards and rebuild all these, or send a constructor forwards. Looks like we're gonna send a constructor forwards. I don't mind that one bit, because of course that constructor on the front lines will be quite useful, but it's not like this damage in the back line is quite done yet. Yeah, we've still got some grunts moving forward. The Wolverine gonna have quite a hard time hitting those grunts, certainly. Medium tank's gonna fare a little bit better, but my goodness, 2 more metal extractors go down. This is tremendous. What a beautiful, beautiful play. Another little run by over here as well. The aggression from the red team definitely looking top notch here. These red commanders not afraid to get their hands dirty, send some of their base units across the map, try and see if there's any free pickoffs. You might as well. These pawns, they're relatively cheap, all things considered, and the amount of damage that they've been able to do in the back of the map has been phenomenal. And we snipe a constructor too. Oh, don't tell me. We're gonna get more mexes. The res bots are even grouped up right here. No repair, no reclaim. The res bots go down. These are the most valuable grunts we've seen in a good long while. There was one game a long time ago. Don't even remember the map that it was played on. But there was one game a long time ago that featured a grunt that I think got up to a full gold star ranking. We didn't quite get there yet with these grunts, but we're getting pretty close. The entire base of Maris is now torn asunder here by these grunts that ran into the backline. Chain reacted all of the wind turbines, and my goodness, you couldn't hope for a better start right here for the red team. You can see already the economic advantage slowly starting to express itself. Energy advantage certainly a little bit higher. The metal advantage quite a bit higher as far as the early game goes anyway, barring any reclamation here, which there is quite a lot for Bartizan as we see these green Rocketeers moving forward. We have counter Rocketeers being produced just about as quickly here for Hans Joachim, though. Love that forward radar tower as well. One of those easy things to forget, but those radar towers have tons of line of sight, so they're an excellent option if you don't have other means of granting your Rocketeers a full range of vision. Going to allow these to fire away at full range. There is quite a lot right here. Yeah, Hans has to be very careful. We don't want to lose these Rocketeers too early. Otherwise, the snowball is going to easily shut down the yellow forces right here from our green commander. That pool of metal is running dry, though. Yeah, we're getting some of these metal extractors back up and running, but it is going to run dry eventually. There we go. We started some advanced solar panels to make sure we spend that metal, pardon me. And I think that's a great idea. Southern side has been much less conflicted here. Yeah, it looks like we mostly got a sort of slow siege happening. We got some shell shockers firing up into the air and raining their hellfire down on top of the maroon forces right here. We've got Von Kamen actually boldly stepping across the river right here. All right, trying to establish a frontline base for positioning units across the river onto the blue terrain. It's a very difficult situation to be in, but a very, very useful one. Having a field to stage your units on can oftentimes lead you with a whole bunch more surface area to attack into. Now, if the enemy takes advantage of that, obviously they get a way better concave, and that means that they can ravage your units with sufficiently or significantly less units. However, it also gives you more surface area to attack into. So what that means, translated into normal speak, I guess, would be more options to attack. This is kind of the weird paradox of Rocketeers we're witnessing right here. A few Rocketeers is very easy to micro, but they don't have very much damage output. A lot of Rocketeers much harder to micro, but has so much damage output that it doesn't really matter because whatever they fire at evaporates almost immediately. It's a weird situation to be in. One of the ways you can counteract this is just spreading out your Rocketeers even more, but it's a lot harder to do that. It's a lot more difficult to micro. But one of the things you can always think about is starting to wrap your army around the enemies. So instead of positioning them in a line like this, kind of position them in an L-shaped sort of a curve like this, a obtuse angled curve like this that starts to slowly wrap around the enemy. Essentially, you're trying to form a perfect concave, right? That's the end-all be-all, but in the meantime, it's one of the more efficient ways to micro those. Now, these medium tanks, my goodness, they've gotten some work done. Shutting down these aggravators over here, but this is the beauty of going for bots. Even though this trade has resulted in the death of tons and tons of these bots right here, it does not matter because thugs are reinforcing all this, and we already have a couple of grave robbers that are going to be more than happy to to resurrect a whole bunch of these tanks that have been blasting away so cruelly at this army right here. Yeah, Malo gonna have to be careful. Oh man, we're stepping forward directly into the grunt range. Grunt and thug composition, quite powerful. Yeah, gotta be careful about that. Resbots will get to work bringing those units back from the brink of annihilation. Total annihilation. Drumroll, please. Yeah, Rocketeer is very scary here as well. 4% of a commander's HP per missile. quite effective at bringing them down, especially in large numbers, but of course you do have to be careful. Those commanders always have access to that D-gun, as long as they have 500 energy to spare. Not always the case, as is with Malo here. You can see energy production actually quite low. Southern side slowly starting to look quite good here, actually. Yeah, we've got a lot of thugs. We've got the res bots. This is a very slow but a very sturdy composition. It's the kind of composition that can win you in an early game. If you want to win with the T1 era, one of the best bets is going to be a unkillable thug composition, thug res bot. Very simple, very sweet. You can mix in a couple of grunts here and there in case you want to add a little bit more mobility to your composition, but really, all things considered, not even necessary. The thugs are fairly mobile in and of themselves. Love this gauntlet position up here, by the way. I think this is exactly what this island was designed for, is for a gauntlet put up here on this high ground. We do have a radar jammer, at the very least blocking those radar signals, rebounding off of nothing and being scrambled into oblivion here so that the porcupined up turret from Shlomo 420 does not manage to see what's actually over there. Yeah, Undead 14. We're a little bit lane shifted over right here. So Dark Lord is fighting down right here, and then Undead is not fighting. So what we've effectively got is a 2 versus 2, when really this should have been a 3 versus... Well, I guess that's not really true. We've had a 2 versus 2 this whole time, but as soon as this T2 lab kicks in, it's going to become a 3 versus 3, which is going to be a problem if the tan player here doesn't move northward here to try and do a little bit of damage, apply a little bit of counter pressure to the green player, and then, yeah, Undead 14's got to get into the fight somewhere. We have how many units? We have 2,000 metal worth of units on the front line, 0 metal in units actually doing any damage across the map, and that is a problem. Shell Shocker's trying to clip that missile truck right there, but the hounds are out, and they will have much to say about these T1 medium tanks slowly whittling their way forward. Not much progress going to be made once those hounds build up in significant enough numbers. They're just too good. They do too much damage. The armor plating is just too thick. Undead 14 definitely a little unsure of what they should be going for here. We can see the T2 lab is up and running. At the very least, we're going for the T2 economy. So not clueless to the game, but certainly a little bit behind as far as damage done probably goes. Yeah, converting this T1 army to a T2 one might at the very least be the best way to claw yourself out of a fairly passive situation like this. All that being said, though, still a very, very tricky one to be a commander working with that other commander on the front lines. Definitely feels like Hans Joachim is fighting an uphill battle here. I do wonder how the metal extractors are split. The green commander certainly has quite a few of them, and once they go to T2, it'll be quite powerful as well. But that being said, we already have the T2 transition up and available from Hans Joachim, so we're going to see a huge tech advantage once these hounds start hitting the front lines here. We already have a decent enough T1 army right here for the yellow commander. I don't think it's going to matter all too much if we start trading those out, using them to gain a little bit of a positional advantage so that those hounds have a nice soft landing as they start to build up to snowbally numbers. Yeah, this army sitting idle here is really starting to bother me now. I hadn't noticed it before, but as soon as I realized that we were all shifted down one lane, suddenly it became clear that, yeah, these units just sitting still on the front line definitely need to be reconsumed. There's no harm in reconsuming your units. I mean, I guess you lose the energy, but the metal is really the most important part. Consuming your units and then rematerializing them, I suppose, into more efficient T2 units, definitely the better way to go, rather than just leaving them idle, because of course once you get to that T3 era too, things really become inefficient, especially those T1 to fight with. Hounds trying their very best here, and they will do quite well. We're not quite to the numbers where they can just march forward though. This is still a considerable amount of metal. We are talking about nearly 4,000 metal out on the front lines here for Bartizan. Most of it in inefficient T1, but more stuff definitely beats less stuff. You can see those hounds being incredibly good at their job, though. That mace being obliterated in seconds. Yeah, there they go. The hound's going to continue firing away here. Got to be careful with the commander, too. Yeah, those hounds do serious damage, even to a commander. Looks like about 6% damage per volley against that commander. Yikes. A couple of rounds of that, and that commander will be nothing more than a thermonuclear wreckage. Big old hound ball over here. Refreshing, actually. I almost said a Sheldon ball, because it feels like that's all we've been seeing recently, and I'm sure we will as some of these commanders get their T2 labs up and running. But certainly refreshing to see the hounds out in their four-legged prowess. A little lightning turret defensive setup right here. Love the pork on that. We've got construction turrets to repair these, But then we've also got them across the river, so any units that try to move forward are going to have to do it very slowly. How lovely is that? No scouting here from either air player, by the way. Well worth pointing out that we've just essentially rushed into a... Oh, we actually haven't gotten T2 yet. Oh, yeah, what is the holdup? Yeah, we've got 4,000 metal in the bank right here for the air player. Definitely should have had a T2 lab up and running by now. There we go. Yeah, we do see a T2 lab up for our Cyan commander here on the other side of the map. 2 fusion reactors as well, powering all of it. That's some lovely stuff. Those T2 fighters will absolutely obliterate this T1 air wall. You need significantly less fighters. It's basically half the amount of fighters in order to shuttle that down. I wouldn't mind maybe if Undead 14 was unconfident in microing these units, just handing them off to the other player, or at the very least maybe handing off the T1 units, the ones that don't need to be microed as carefully, at least in the early mid-game here. Just to make sure maybe that those T2 hounds stay completely well microed. I wouldn't mind that all too much. Gauntlet is up on this hillside, but much more importantly, a Persecutor is just moments away from finishing here. 2,500 metal worth of static defense right here. Every cent of it is worth it, though. There it goes, firing away, and you'll see just how much damage this thing can do against the T1. Certainly. Even T2 should really be aware of the power of the Persecutor. Quite a formidable defense. Guess it didn't really hit much there, huh? Here we go. Yeah, the Hounds, I mean, they have found their position. Undead not paying attention. The commander goes up. Oh, no. Sleeping on the job, and the Powder Pink commander loses everything in a thermonuclear explosion as that commander's reactor overheats due to critical damages. And down it goes on the front lines. Those Hounds will retreat like they were never even there. Maybe one of them will go down. Not even. Yeah, all those Hounds get out of there for effectively free. Not what you're looking for. Not at all. This is another problem. Of course, with the river blocking the path of the tick, you have to go for a much more expensive pawn spam. Doesn't seem like it in the grand scheme of things, but the pawn is much more expensive than the tick. Yeah, I know. Not difficult to quantify. I guess I could prove that. The tick being 17 metal and 340 energy versus the pawn's 48 and 960. So, you know, a degree or two, quite a bit more expensive. Means, obviously, much more expensive to produce, much more expensive to spam, certainly. Now we have a radar and a radar jammer included with the Sheldon here, or sorry, with the Hounds here. You can tell I've been watching too many Cortex players. Got to get back to my Armada roots. We've got those Armada, the Smuggler and the Compass, working here with the Hounds to clean a lot of this up, and I love to see it. If you're investing heavily, or you feel you will be investing heavily in artillery, big siege units like these, the Hounds, sharpshooters, obviously a great choice as well. You're going to want to make sure you get a couple of those pinpointers down. There's been a nice lengthy discussion in the Brightworks Discord channel, which of course you're more than welcome to join up on. There's a nice handy link down below. What on earth? Okay, well, I've been severely misinformed. It would appear ticks have absolutely no problem. Yeah, okay. That changes things ever so slightly. Not dramatically, but ever so slightly. That means tick spams are absolutely viable. Could be, yeah, could definitely be a game changer here. These ticks moving forward, essentially achieving the same effect that the radar and radar jammer were, but to a more efficient degree, giving you that line of sight bonus as opposed to the radar vision bonus. The radar vision, which, by the way, Bartizan is complaining quite loudly about. The power of the radar tower and or the radar bot, well combined with the radar jammer, gives you a extremely high power composition that is essentially invisible until you find it with an actual spotter unit. Certainly a lesson to be learned there. Yeah. For the longest time, these green units were actually protected by their own jammer field from that Sneaky Pete, but with those units moving through, that is now a thing of the past. Beautifully done. We do finally have a T2 transition here for the Brown Commander. My goodness, we're sitting on 16,000 metal. We need some build power desperately here. Where on earth has the Brown Commander gotten off to? Oh, okay. Commander is over here. T1 Constructor nowhere to be found. Desperately in need of a whole lot more build power in the backline right there for the air player. No way we're going to be able to spend that metal on just a couple of those turrets here. As you can see, the Cyan Commander probably a little bit more comfortable with playing air here, and indeed going to be going for quite a bit more build power as well to accompany all that. Makes a lot of sense. Got to be able to afford all those stuff and things. Here's a bad day. Fiends and grunts running directly into your frontline setup. Pitbull turret will at the very least help, but not by a lot. Fusaro Da trying desperately to stay alive. The dragon speak incantation for force not going to save this commander from the ever oncoming volleys of of hound fire. My goodness, I need a vacation. I need a bar vacation. I'll go play some StarCraft or something. No, I doubt it. StarCraft doesn't really itch, or doesn't really scratch the same itches. You know I love to see it though. Welders and sharpshooters pushing forward. A match made in heaven. There we go. Every click is a dead hound. Every snap is a dead sharpshooter. Every burst is a dead building. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah, the sharpshooter moving forward, providing so much value every single time that they can click away with their briefcase weapons. Does one sit on hold fire or something? No, he's just a pacifist. Okay. Weird. Not sure what was going on with that sharpshooter. He just wasn't committed to the fight, I guess. Either way, you can see just how much work those welder sharpshooter combos can do. We do have sharpshooters trying to hold things together over here as well. There's a spy bot moving forward, which is always quite nice. Spy bots can reclaim. This blew somebody's mind. Well, it blew my mind when I first learned about it, but it blew somebody else's mind in the comment section, so I'll mention it again. Yeah, spy bots are capable of reclaiming, so you can see I'm able to do a big reclaim field right here. Not necessarily the most useful thing in the world, because it uncloaks them when they reclaim, so trade-offs, I suppose. Still good to know, in case you're, you know, in need of maybe reclaiming some sort of out-of-the-way metal field that you don't want to sacrifice all your res bots for or something. Yeah, just send a spy bot over there. Maybe it'll be able to get the job done. Now, this attack has been repelled quite... Oh, here's the brown T1 constructor, by the way. Apparently it has been lost to the reclamation efforts, or maybe building something on the fronts. Either way, there it is. Would love to see that go build some more build power. The attack has been neglected, sorry, that's not the right word, has been deflected. That's the right word. It's been a long day, okay? Don't judge me. Been a long week. The attack has been deflected right here from the pink commander quite nicely, the powder pink commander. We are going for quite a bit of sharpshooter as well. Now, sharpshooter's very costly to invest in up front. They're very energy dense. Let me show you the pricing on that. Yeah, 20,000 metal for the sharpshooters. Ooh, fighters coming across the map right here. We have some bombers built up as well. Ah, fighters on the retreat, not able to shoot. Oh no, we're losing so much right here. We need to send the fighters back in, but not the bombers. At the end of the day, these are T1 fighters, so it's not horrible. It's not great. Definitely the brown commander is finding a lot of value here, though. A lot of free shots on these very expensive T2 units. Yeah, there go more of the fighters. This is actually a really nice catch. Well, if we're going to trade out for all these T2 bombers, these heavy T2 bombers, this is fabulous. Yeah, that was just definitely a little bit of a miss micro right there. The Cyan commander underestimating the amount of air forces that have been built up here. There are also some T2 fighters mixed in here. I spy at least one. Always nice, of course. Somebody pointed out in another comment, you guys are so helpful that way, pointed out that the Valiant, the T1 Cortex airplane, or fighter plane, is actually the most efficient defensive fighter plane, or at the very least a very efficient defensive fighter plane. Not efficient offensive wise because they have a radar signature, so they don't make for good dive bombs, good stealth strikes, but very, very good for defensive wise. I thought that was interesting. I just assumed that T2 would always be less efficient. Oh, this is such a bummer. This is why you need the welders. I know, I'm the biggest welder fan there is out there, but this is exactly why. Just like that, all of those sharpshooters were blasted apart by such a cheap composition. I mean, we are talking about less than 1,000 metal worth of ticks, tearing down thousands and thousands of metal of extremely energy expensive T2 units. Razorbank is out, so that'll finally clean all this up. But 2 welders would have done the job just as well. Now, our investment into these hounds has been quite thorough here. Hansel Keen definitely, yeah, contributing greatly to the hound production. We also have more and more Fiend Grunt building up over here. We're getting ready to send a big wave across. I can just feel it. Sort of trying to test the waters. Oh, I hear an EMP bomber. There it is, yeah. EMP bomber's trying desperately to shut down a whole bunch of these. I'll point out once more that these have been nerfed slightly, so they used to drop, I believe it was 5 bombs, now they drop 2. The AoE is roughly the same, but it does mean that you have to be a little bit more pointed with your bombing runs here, so we'll see just how well we can do. Yeah, we have the bombers. All right, they're coming in. Nice. Beautiful connections right there. Beautiful, beautiful connections right there from the EMP bombers. Do manage to shut down a whole bunch of those Marauder running across the map right here. Very, very nicely done. That's the moment where you're very happy to have a Armada T2 air player on your side. Dragon's not going to be nearly as good as keeping up with these Marauder to blast them down here. Heavy bombers, I guess, quite sufficient as well, but good luck getting those to catch up either. Second bombing run. Where have they gone? Oh, they retreated well into the back line. Follow-up bombing run here should paralyze all the rest of this, and that would be quite nice. Whoa, sorry. Heavy bombers coming across the map here. That is the most dead construction turret I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Never before has a construction turret suffered so much damage in one foul swoop. That's what I expect to see. Starlight's coming out here as well. EMP bombs will shut all that off, so that's quite nice. And this Marauder will be blue tachyon beamed to death. Little Mammoth sneaking around over here. Cheeky Mammoth play, trying to move around. Do some damage over here against Princess Celestia. She's trying to hold as much as possible. Mammoth, a tough one. We've seen how effective that dual composition Mammoth Sharpshooter Wombo combo was. Bit of an odd one, obviously, because you have to invest in 2 different T2 labs if you want to be the sole producer, but obviously a big team collab would definitely make it quite efficient. There's the spy bot. Looks like our green commander has figured out exactly how you're supposed to utilize line of sight versus radar versus all that other stuff. Now the yellow commander, Hans Joachim, has built a tracer, the intrusion countermeasure system, which allows you to detect where those spy bots are, which is pretty handy. Looks like we actually have a couple of them here, so yeah, quite nice indeed. Very, very useful for allowing you to figure out why exactly your units are being obliterated from half a mile away with extreme precision. Whoa, a nice nuke right there on the northern side. Yellow commander gets obliterated. Down go, wow, just about every hound in that composition. One hound, one fat boy, and one commander walk into a bar. All the production is gone. The intrusion countermeasure is gone. Everything is gone. This is a massive opportunity. The blue team needs to take advantage of this. Otherwise, they're going to slowly slip behind in the economic game. Well, that's not guaranteed, I suppose. Just a matter of who can eco better. But for the time being, having these AMEXs taken down right here, having the T3 production coming out of just the backline for the time being, yeah, definitely very, very risky right now. Sprinters, well, sprinting forward, doing what they were trained to do. Oh, nice EMP bombing right there. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful EMP bombing right there. Managed to shut down a whole bunch of those sprinters. Looks like we're not quite done yet either. There's some fighters coming across now to try and trade out. We have flak trucks in the air, though, or well, shooting into the air. Flak trucks in the air would be quite terrifying. Yeah, I mean, Sheldon Ball is not sufficient to shut down this many hounds. However, EMP plus Razorback definitely beats all that good old-fashioned T2 long-range plasma bot. And just like that, if that Razorback has anything to say about this push of hounds moving forward, it's no, you ain't. Beautiful. Beautiful moves. We do have Thors coming out as well as Razorbacks, and we're ready to transition into that epic late game. You can see some T2 walls put up all over the place. So underutilized, the T2 walls. I actually really like to see it. I think they add quite a lot. If not effectively, they certainly add aesthetically to the game. Now, despite losing all those hounds, obviously that's a significant investment that the yellow commander lost right there, but at the very least, we're now transitioned fully into T3 production. So these T3 units going to be quite a bit better, at least in the mid to late game, your early late game. Question is, how are we going to break this line? Answers that I can think of, certainly nuclear weapons, an option. Another nuke up in the air right now. Where are we sending it? Oh, I have a feeling it's this front line right here again. Nuclear missile coming across. Boom, it goes. Beautiful nuclear missile right there. So much value wiping out all that static defense that had been slowly built up over this entire game. Lovely, lovely stuff. Pop-up Persecutor does manage to stay alive, but just about everything else goes in that thermonuclear explosion. Beautiful stuff. Now, rightly so, the anti-nukes have been triggered across the map here for the red team. Good anti-nuke coverage. Looks like we're just about complete. Maybe a couple of stray circles here where maybe a nuke could slip through. All said and done, though, I don't think it's going to be anything too tremendous, although this is a risky place to put your advanced fusion reactors. Very tricky indeed. Have to be very careful about it. But for the time being, it looks like peace has been established across Bar. Save from a couple of ticks that are sort of mindlessly wandering across the map here. Hardly count as sentient creatures. All they know is to destroy. My headcanon for the tick is that it was adapted from a construction unit. Something meant to, you know, climb up buildings and weld steel pipes together once they've all been put into place, or steel beams or whatever, just, you know, using its little eye laser. And they're like, hey, you know what? We could just laser cut tanks in half. One slice at a time. And thus the humble tick was born. All entirely headcanon. I'm being very clear about that. I don't even know if Bar has any established lore, so I'm just making it up on the spot, but I like to tell a good story now and then, and I feel like that's a fair enough guess. Shall we talk about the game a little bit? Mass Shiva on the North Line. You know how I feel about the Shiva. Not super enthused to see them. Basically the kings of friendly fire. However, the Karganeth in the back are much more inspiring here. Razorback are also coming out here from the Yellow Commander, so that's always nice to see. We do have, actually, we've eaten up the T3 lab, pardon me, Freudian slip there. We've eaten up the T3 lab, and it looks like we're going to eventually transition into just a big T1 spam. Okay. I don't hate it, but it is expensive, once again. Could be useful if utilized in the right spot, at the right time, and in the right frequency. I don't think this Northern Line is achieving all too much, though. Juno missiles coming across the map. That's also good to see. Oftentimes neglected, the Juno missile. Very powerful tool, though. Great for, well, destroying your enemy's radar and anti-radar. Do have to be careful, though. Obviously, it's capable of destroying your radar and anti-radar as well, so got to be, yeah, very wary of that possibility. It's definitely one of them. The Cyan Commander moving the fighters around makes me think we want to go for a bombing run. Yeah, we're centralizing everything. Definitely looks to me like we're thinking about a bombing run here. Anti-air turrets coming up in the middle of the map. I actually like this. Yeah, we've set up a little fortified kind of defensive setup right here. We've got an AA gun. We're going to have some of these long-range AA towers as well to shoot down anything that moves forward. This is pretty nice, actually. Oftentimes, I'm looking for ways to make a air player more of a team player. For Armada, it's fairly straightforward. You just go ahead and build some EP bombers and shut down any pushes that otherwise would end the game. For Cortex, though, it does get a little bit tricky. Yeah, you have to think a little bit more multidimensionally. Shiva, getting bombed right now, but not very effectively. Fairly well. Yeah, there we go. I mean, some of the T3 taking some serious hits. Yeah, serious hits. I don't know. The heavy bombers are quite good against T3, but it feels like the only really efficient way of using them is when you're paralyzing the units and then eventually able to jump on top of them with really, really precise bombing runs. My goodness, could you name a better unit, though? The Starlight. Rolling, 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 rolling. Well, it's Big Daddy the Pulsar, firing away here wherever it can. But when the Pulsar manages, or when the Starlight, pardon me, manages to line up a strike, certainly quite devastating. They're also quite explosive, so you do have to be careful about that. MVP taking a hit right to the face. Definitely, oh, another nuke right to the face right there. Shiva and Karganeth will survive one nuke, but they won't survive too many. By that, I think it's probably about 2 or 3. At least directly, anyways. The Starlight wave has been significantly diminished here, which is quite comforting for the blue team, but already all the green force has been melted away here. And we have chaff running forward and a little bit of friendly fire from the Rattlesnake. Melts all the build power. Oh no. This is slowly looking worse and worse on the northern side for the blue team. EMP bombers coming out to try and save the day. I don't hate it, but obviously the Thor will ignore any EMP dropped on top of it. There we go. Heavy impulse bomb's going to be a little bit more effective. Note, though, only a little bit more. Karganeth for some anti-air here is quite nice, too, actually. Yeah, Razorback's going to be great for dealing with sprinters over here. That is a lot of bulls moving forward. I think that's about 6 of them. Now, more than that. 12 bulls, double the amount that I guessed. Going to be rolling on forward here. Certainly more than enough bulls to deal with just the 2 Razorbacks, but there is a whole contingency of other stuff here just waiting to get utilized. And indeed, the commander will even step forward, ready to degun down any of these tanks that get a little too far. For the most part, the hold is quite sturdy. Yeah, love to see it. Karganeth trying to anti-air missile away at those EMP bombers coming across. Not the most effective way of shutting those down, but certainly ineffectively. Nuclear bombers, though, going to be the solution that we opt for instead here. Very, very good. Fighters are pulled from the Brown Commander. They will manage to break through the airline and shoot down at least one of those nuclear bombers. The long-range anti-air towers, though, from Fusro Da will manage to shoot down all the straggler fighters, though. Very, very nicely done. EMP missiles being utilized quite well here by the Thors. Always love to see that. Definitely one of those things that I think gets underutilized a whole lot. Difficult with the Thor, because on most things you can select all of them and then hit, you know, whatever button. Like, say for instance you wanted to attack, you could hit A, right click and drag, and it would do a big attack, and they would attack each individual point. For their missile, however, oh, you can actually spread them out. Oh, I swear you couldn't. Maybe that was changed recently. I could have sworn on my mama that that was not possible. If that actually works, it might just be a UI thing that it says that it would work, but it wouldn't actually. If that actually does work, where you can spread the missiles out, that is a hallelujah moment for sure. That was definitely something that they honestly just felt like a bug. It felt like an underutilization for the Thor, that you had to click one and then missile and then click the other and then missile, and tedious as ever. Geothermal in a whole lot of trouble. Thors have bigger priorities, though. Certainly. Geothermal goes up. I wanted to check these nuclear bombers and see if they were getting any value out. Looks like they're mostly just playing defense up here on the northern side. Not the end of the world to clean up some of those stragglers that might be trying to leak through, some of the grunts and the pawns and anything like that. Here come the Thors, though. Big Daddy Thor moving forward. Man, is this unit devastating as ever. Couple of blasts. Wow, that was like 4 shots in order to take down the APHIS. It pops, sending ripples through the economy right here of the Orange Commander, and I have a feeling they're not quite done yet. Boom goes the second wave of advanced fusion reactors. Does take out the Thor over here, but I think that's more than well enough worth it for the Green Commander to take down that extremely well-fortified T3 late-game defense. Now that that facility is out of the way, though, it does mean that it's time to move on towards the Brown Commander. I guess not, actually. And instead, we're going to go after the Tank Commander here. Not the end of the world. Another nuke goes down on the top right-hand side of my screen. There we go. Yeah, nuclear bomber is going to be the answer that we're looking for that Thor. Fairly efficient. Efficient enough, anyways. Basically, the perfect unit. You do want just one big swoop of damage. Demons having the time of their lives against these marauders. My goodness. The AoE on those demons is beautiful. Wow. What a sturdy defense right there. My goodness. Yeah, the demons absolutely locking down this northern section. None shall pass, scream the Balrogs, ready to hoist a defense against those marauder trying to invade the lands of the Red Commander. Starlights here in mass going to blast all these down. I actually like those Starlights in mass. My goodness, we've got several pings. It would appear that there are several ticks sitting around. The Green Commander would like those dealt with, as our ears might indicate. Oh yeah, I remember what I was saying. I love the T2 compositions here. I actually don't mind seeing T2 mixed in with T3. I think that's probably how you get the most bang for your buck, is by mixing in the powerhouses that are the sharpshooters, the starlights, all those super high DPS units with some of the T3 stuff, so that the T3 can take the brunt of the damage, i.e. tank for them. And then, of course, the high-impact T2 units can do a lot of damage behind all of that. Now, obviously, the other option is just to build more T3. Certainly viable as well. Timinator will be revealed here, and these Razorbacks won't hesitate to blast that commander to smithereens. Not Sheldon. Guess I'll never change. Hound's moving forward here. It's essentially the Armada Sheldon. Is that, I mean, it's close enough, right? We can agree. We can agree that it's the Armada Sheldon. Okay. Very different units. They really are. That's why I'm so upset about misnaming them so often here, but sort of, kind of the same thing. Filling the same rules at the very least. Nuclear bomb does get detonated, air bursted up in the atmosphere here. Means that it won't be able to impact wherever it was targeting in the back line, I'm sure, of the red team here. Despite that nice push with that Thor, it seems like the blue team is not able to capitalize quite yet. We are going for sturdy economies here, left, right, and center. So at the very least, we're going to have the economic power to keep up into this. But yeah, I mean, the blue team has a nice advantage right now. I thought the middle advantage would have been slightly towards the red right here, but I guess that production center on the backline going down definitely hurt them, and they're still recovering from that. For now, about a 200, maybe 300 metal difference per second. MVP in position. Oh no. Oh no. Ooh, okay. Well, alright. Yeah, good enough. Good enough, I would say. Deacon down the majority of those Marauder, and the rest of them are significantly weakened. Means this demon will have a swell time blasting them into corpses of ash and dust on the battlefield. Resbot's here to pick everything back up. Always happy to see those, of course. Following around those early T3 units, making sure that they stay in ship shape. But also just making sure that any T3 go down, end up getting back up on your side. Obviously not as good if they're on the enemy's team. Not as good for you, anyways. Yeah, Starlight's blasting down these Razorbacks here. Still funny to see T3 blasted so efficiently, but if there really ever was a unit that was designed to counter the T3, it's got to be the Razorback. Sorry, it's got to be the Starlight. Fires a heavy tachyon. Oh my goodness, you can see just how quickly they melt away these Thors too. Plus the DPS bonus from the flanking. Going to be tremendous here. Oh, okay. Well, this is interesting. I doubt it'll ever come up in time, but this is interesting. Fus Roda decides to go for the Omega Cannon, the LOL Cannon, as it's aptly named. Once you see one of those, the only reaction is a LOL. 2 anti-nukes fired. Shutting down 2 nukes fired. Very nice. One of the problems with going for those super nuke rushes where you just rush up to 20 nukes and send them across the map is the ceiling to counter that is quite a bit significantly smaller. I think about 5 anti-nukes would probably counter 20 nuclear silos. My math could be off slightly there, but it'd do pretty well anyways. There's a weird trade-off between the time it takes to fire the anti-nukes and the amount of anti-nukes that you need, right? So if you have 4 anti-nukes and there's 4 missiles, then it just takes 1 launching sequence in order to fire all of them. Whereas if you have 2, it takes 2 launching sequences. If you have 1, it takes 4. So the more you have, the more efficient they become, which means you need less of them. And if you have less of them, then it means that you need more of them. It's a vicious cycle, truly. Love the AA flak trucks here. Feel like they should be spread out, though. As is right now, essentially we would only protect if the bombing run came right down the middle of the map, directly across the tan base. Not to say that that wouldn't be a bad thing, but that's not usually where players decide to target whenever they're thinking about going for bombing runs. Usually it's the corners, the sides, big blatant weak points, that sort of thing. Thor rolling, 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 rolling. Or trying to at the very least. Not going to achieve much. Not even killing the resbots there. Pretty embarrassing. We at this point have ticks piling up on the enemy side of the map. Not sure why we're just idling those. Definitely feels like the kind of unit you'd want to slip into your enemy's backline. Try and do something with. Sure, I mean, I guess we can EMP bomb them. Feels like a little bit of overkill, I won't lie. But, you know, whatever it takes to shut down those devious ticks. Those heinous ticks. Love the catapult so much. Every chance I get to watch a catapult firing away, I just have to take it. They're so cinematic. Their rocket pods truly are one of the units of all time. Beautiful. Oh, that was a beautiful connection. So many sharpshooters just went down right there. Catapult's one of the easiest units to find value with. It's the shuriken and then the catapult, probably in my book. You know, I doubted it at first, but Fus Roda is actually making significant progress here. We're only 2 minutes away from seeing this LOL cannon come up and online right now. Starting to get scary. Yeah, that LOL cannon would certainly be the end of the red team here. You can see it reaches out and hits just about every frontliner base. Yeah, we have the hot pink base would go up, we have the tan base, the yellow base, and the red base, all of which would be obliterated by the firepower of the Ragnarok and roll. Razorbacks try and defend the airwaves here. Not gonna happen. Fighters going across though, trying desperately to clear out some of the fighters here from the ground commander. Love that. Pretty sure that fighters trade positively when you're the aggressor. So I think it's almost always positive to send your fighters first. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it ends up shaking out. One of the reasons why defending with air is so difficult is because you really have to appropriately prioritize the right units. You have to take down the bombers, you have to take down the gunships, you have to take down all the expensive stuff first, all the dangerous stuff first, and then clean up the air wave afterwards. Just hope and pray that your team has anti-air to clean up some of the fighters. Relieve a little bit of the pressure for you. Another nuclear bomb right here as demons continue to march forward. Those Zars are in a whole lot of trouble as well. They may be sitting in the river, but the demon fires more than just flame. It fires bad vibes. And no tank is immune to that. I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up here. Feels like we're resisting conflict right now when I feel like certainly there's enough thwarts to make a play on the southern side. I feel like there's definitely enough Razorbacks to make a play on the northern side, and it feels like neither team really wants to risk sending it all. You have to be careful though. This is gonna finish imminently. 90% of the way there, gives us another 10 seconds or so before we see that completed. Yeah. The T2 push, T2, T3 push up on the northern side. Quite good. Not going to break all those Razorbacks though. That is quite a lot of them. Nice nuke right there, connects with a whole bunch of the squishier units. But the time is nigh. Woodsword, do you have the economy for it? Yeah, I'd say so, more or less. Not really, but pretty close. There we go. Lol cannon starts firing away immediately, going to target down those aphises. Exactly the right move once you get the wall cannon up and running. It's surprising how many people actually neglect the... Oh, yeah, okay. We didn't pop the aphises here. That's tragic. It's funny how many people neglect the Ragnarok once it fires. There we go. Big old pop of the yellow base right here. Thermo nukes headed inbound as well, just for the sake of it. And indeed, with that pressure applied, looks like the red team will throw in the towel. Beautiful, beautiful plays right there from the blue team. Getting the Ragnarok up and running, it's always an end game to remember. Love to see that we had a plan and we executed, and we held some pretty tremendous pushes right there from the yellow team. What a beautiful game. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section. As always, I'm happy to hear from you guys, or if you have suggestions or criticisms or anything like that, I'm always happy to hear those as well. Always improving around here. That's the motto of the Brightworks, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.